sales, we're oftentimes chasing a number, and that number seems to get higher and higher. And
I think sales is an extremely stressful environment.
It might be a little bit addicted to the stress.
Because we're working against all our tribal instincts.
And sometimes stress makes us feel important. It makes us feel needed. It makes us feel productive, like we're doing something.
We're trying to control something that we're not in control of, right?
Yeah, you don't want to be at the beach while you're at work and at work while you're at the beach.
I've chosen to create a high-stress environment.
And that ain't cool.
Is this really going to impact my sales result?
When's the shoe going to drop?
Well, what do we do?
It's all about stress management for salespeople and mindfulness. Whoa, closers, welcome back. Damn, you look good. You smell good, wherever you are. Welcome back to Unscripted Selling with Carlos and Sophia. Today's episode is all about stress management for salespeople and mindfulness for salespeople. We're going to talk about understanding the stress that comes from being in a selling role. We're going to give you the mindfulness approach. We're going to give you techniques for salespeople to be more mindful, to minimize stress the most we can. We're going to talk about some case studies and give you just tons of tips for cultivating mindfulness. If you're here, keep listening. If that tickles your pickle, don't know why I said that. Maybe it's because I've been pickling a lot. If that tickles your pickle, keep listening, like and subscribe. Let's get into today.
Hey, Sophia, what a topic. What a great idea for a topic. But here's what my concern is, Sophia.
What's that?
We've got these, this army of closers who come here every week. They come to the video, they come to the podcast. They're looking for hard-hitting techniques and tools, and they want to go out in the marketplace and they want to increase their result. And they're going to look at this topic and go, mindfulness, stress management. I'm a hard closing, hard driving sales guy. Is this really going to impact my sales result? What do you think, Sophia?
I think that a lot of us might be a little bit addicted to the stress. And when we have a week that isn't so stressful, we're sort of sitting there like, when's the shoe going to drop? Well, we've got news for you. This is a long game. And if we're stressing out, we're going to burn out. And that ain't cool. That doesn't help the bottom line. That doesn't help the commission check, does it? We can't be burning out. So how do we, where does stress come from, Carlos?
So I believe that sales is a very high stress environment for a number of reasons. Now, I also have to recognize that every job I've ever had over the last 40 odd years, I've chosen to create a high stress environment. It's just kind of how I'm wired.
Cozy,
right?
It's cozy like, in there.
If I'm not under a basket full of stress, if I'm not like ready to rip somebody a new one, then so it doesn't feel right? I just wired like that. I'm wired to find stress and issues. That's the biggest cup I've ever seen in my life. I'm wired. I'm wired
hydrated and I'm stress free.
You're hydrated and stress-free. I bet they're connected, actually. We'll talk about that in a minute. But even if you're not wired like a crazy person like me, sales is a stressful environment, right? First, it's a high-conflict environment. It's an environment where it's rich in rejection, where you're consistently seeking to subordinate your ego for your paycheck, right? You're putting your ego in the back seat. You're putting your economic needs in the front seat. And that's stressful because human beings aren't wired like that. Human beings aren't wired for the level of humility that sales requires. Human beings aren't wired to be, they're wired to be tribal and well-liked and answer questions and be, to make connections. They're not wired to be challenging. We're also so the whole environment, the whole structure of a sale, it can be high stress because we're working against all our tribal instincts. We're working against every one of those tribal instincts. Lay on top of that, we've got quotas to hit. it would be easy to think that we're trying to control something that we're not in control of, right? Which is our sales result. It's easy to imagine that that's something we're not in control of. Whereas in reality, if you do follow a solid sales system, if you are putting the right behavioral model in place, if you are a master of selling, you discover that you are in control of a hell of a lot more. But until you're at that point, you're being asked to manage something that's uncontrollable. You're being asked to manage your result to a quota. You're under the microscope of your sales manager, your VP of sales, which is very high stress in of itself. You're running from monthly quota to quarterly quota to annual quota, all within this context of this high challenge, high conflict environment. Hey, Sophia, I think sales is an extremely stressful environment.
Yeah. It comes from a lot of sources, doesn't it, Carlos? The most obvious one is, yes, in sales, we're oftentimes chasing a number, and that number seems to get higher and higher. And if you're in sales, there's got to be part of you that loves that. And if you don't, then I imagine sales probably pretty hard for you, right? So it's chasing the number. There also seems to be a high need for approval. Sometimes, maybe not all salespeople, but some salespeople might struggle with a high need for approval, and that can create some stress.
What about just the requirement to be talking to people and to create relationships with people that you wouldn't normally naturally create relationships with, right?
Yes. And if part of your role is account management, I imagine that there's some stress surrounding not wanting to lose an account.
Yeah.
So we're getting stress from all angles, aren't we?
So recognizing this high stress environment, what can happen to you if you don't manage stress well? And what should people do to start? How can we start thinking about a way to approach this? What do you think? What can happen? Let's start with what can happen.
Yeah. And we're gonna go high level here. We're not gonna this is not a health podcast, but I think that most of our listeners know that stress is the cause of inflammation, which is the cause of pretty much all disease. So we know stress isn't good. And sometimes stress makes us feel important. It makes us feel needed. It makes us feel productive, like we're doing something. We shut down the computer at 6 p.m., 6:30 p.m. on a Friday, and we feel like, wow. And we reach for an adult beverage or, right? So it's like, we feel like, we did something.
We're not endorsing the adult beverage, just to be clear.
No, we're not. If you celebrate with a glass of kombucha, then cheers.
That's cool too.
That's cool too. No, we're not endorsing alcohol, but it's like, yeah, but that can be habit forming when we feel so stressed. We're trying to take the edge off. What can happen is that we're putting the worst thing that can happen is obviously something happens to your health. But the second worst thing is that we're showing up half-assed to every meeting we go to.
And what about your personal commitments?
And then your personal
this weekend, I have to be there at the weekend for my wife, for my kids, for my friends, for my family.
Yep.
After a high week of stress, how much juice is left in the lemon? Not a lot of juice, right?
You want to be horizontal for the whole weekend.
Yeah.
You don't want to be at the beach while you're at work and at work while you're at the beach.
Oh, nice Jim Ron reference there.
Baby. Jim Ron.
You brought it on. Bring that Jim Ron reference.
Eso.
Yeah. Eso.
Nothing good is going to come from stress. So what do we do?
Well, what do we do? That's what everyone wants to know. That's why they've hung around to listen to the episode. What is a mindfulness approach?
Well, there's a menagerie of things we can do. The first one is we want to be as proactive and as kind to our future selves as we can be. So how can we look at our calendar instead of waking up on Monday morning and looking at your calendar and thinking all kinds of 4-letter words? How can instead we look at our calendar 2 weeks out and look at what needs to come off of there, what needs to be moved around. How can we delegate? As salespeople, there's certain things that we can delegate too, so that we don't keep getting bogged down and weighed down and weighed down all the time. We got to be able to meditate, journal, take small breaks, have 15-minute wedges between meetings. If you've done 4 meetings by noon, how do you think you're going to, and then you're wolfing down lunch out of a Tupperware like I just did 5 minutes before your next meeting.
Lunch.
But it was healthy.
That was healthy lunch. What I find I do is I'm reaching for bags of chips and bags of nuts and stuff, and that ain't good.
Well, isn't that part of proactivity? Is meal prepping so that you have healthy food in the fridge waiting for you? Right?
Do you do that?
I do. I try to, and I make it so I do it the most simple way possible. I try to get vegetables that I can make in a nice sheet pan, a mix of veggies, olive oil, salt, pepper, some herbs in the oven. Then I'll have a protein, and it'll last me until about Wednesday, and then I got to figure out what I'm going to do Thursday, Friday. But like, I just want to have, when I open the fridge, I just want healthy food to just be like, hi, I'm here.
So about 4 months ago, I got in the bug, and I thought, I'm going to meal prep, and I felt so proud of myself. I meal prepped like 8 meals for the week. Put them in the fridge on Sunday. Monday morning, open the fridge. The kids had eaten all the meal prep. They didn't know it was my meal prep. They just thought food in the fridge. Fantastic.
Like, yay, meal.
Yay, food. No, that is so cool. And this idea of looking at your calendar a couple of weeks out, I have to tell you that I looked at this week's calendar last week, and I looked at it and I was like, oh my God, I just can't even bear to look at it. It's like, I just can't. It terrified me.
So
on
how
Saturday,
does this...
I looked again. Saturday, I looked at it again, and I'm like, nope, didn't get any better. Nope. Sunday, I looked at it again, like, I couldn't even process it. And I still got up at 5 a.m. this morning. First thing I did is open my calendar, like, no, it didn't get any better all on its own.
No, it's like a chia pet with Miracle Grow. It just keeps getting worse. So when we think about sales, what are the things that we can do to be more mindful and proactive? Well, okay, we know in sales we got to prospect. So instead of waiting for the Outlook notification to come up, prospect. Okay, who am I going to call? Who am I calling on today? What industry am I going after today? Where am I going to get my list from? Okay, I got to export to Zoom info. All right, let me mess around with the filter. Next thing you know, you've shaved off an hour of prospecting time preparing to prospect.
And then at the end of that hour, you go, great, I've just done an hour's prospecting. Not one call made. Not one call.
Right. And you know what? You're not even kidding yourself, because at the end of the day, you know that you didn't do the shit you were supposed to do. You get to Friday and you're like, you know what? I did not do what I actually needed to do to grow my book of business. I dicked around. So instead, set an appointment with yourself to prepare for prospecting, and then also set an appointment with yourself to prospect.
Yeah.
Right? Like, really chunk it down so you can celebrate the victory of, damn, I got my nice list together. When I'm ready to smile and dial, I'm going to be ready to go. Right? And celebrate those little wins along the way. I mean, it's going to make the exercise a lot more enjoyable. If you have a sales call coming up, don't set the pre-call plan time block for right before the meeting, because you're going to be, oh man, the guy is, now I'm not connected with the guy on LinkedIn, so I can't really see his profile. So if you just scored an introduction call, woohoo, well done. Before you do anything else, look at your calendar, and 2 days prior, set a nice date with yourself and a cup of coffee or Earl Grey or some kombucha, and sit down, and you're like, not the kombucha.
I don't like that kombucha stuff. And
I know, but your gut does.
What's that green powdery stuff that they have in Argentina? That
mate. No, I don't like yerba mate. That stuff's like the one hitter of caffeine. Yeah. No, not that. But no. No, but set an appointment with yourself to do your pre-call plan 2 days in advance. Tranquilo. You can really think about your questions, and then 10 minutes before the meeting, review your pre-call plan. And don't show up there like, it's bonanza, it's nuts. You turn on the Zoom and you're not ready. So be proactive. Okay.
What would your guidance be to me who finds that if I've not got a deadline that is terrifying me, like ravaging me, I find high levels of performance to hit. And I don't think I'm the only guy like that. But
so you really need a shark in the tank.
But I also recognize that that ain't healthy. It ain't effective. It ain't productive. It ain't healthy. But I know me. I've been walking around on this planet for 50 odd years.
I like this pantomime.
Yeah, I know that 2 days before the meeting, my level of application is going to be very casual, very laissez-faire. Whereas if I know I'm meeting someone in an hour, I'm like, let's go. That energy, I get diamonds. That adrenaline. What can I do?
What can you do? There's nothing we can do.
It's a lost cause. Well, I think there's a lot of salespeople like me. I don't think I'm the only guy like that. So, but I've been reading a lot, and I know you're a big fan of meditation and about, creating presence and being in the present. Is that an option for me?
Yes, absolutely. I still think I would still challenge you, and I would still ask you, okay, maybe running 1,000,000 miles an hour, going from meeting to meeting works for you. But you know why it works for you, Carlos? Because like you said, with the little walking pantomime, you've got that experience. So maybe the pre-call plan for you isn't going to take you 20 minutes. Maybe it's 5 minutes before the call, but your experience allows you to do that. Someone who's a closer that's listening, and maybe a closer that has a little bit more of a technical sale. Maybe it's a different type of sale. It's not as consultative as ours. Maybe it's a little different. Maybe they need
a team sell.
Or a team sell
needs a lot of planning and forethought. Yeah.
Yeah. The point is, guys, so for the mindfulness thing, how can you be hyper present in the meeting? Why is the pre-call plan important? Because the pre-call plan contains all of your questions and your mindset and all the things that you need so that you can show up at that meeting in a very present way. When it comes to meditation, I always say that meditation, think about having your car at the top of a hill. Let's say you're in San Francisco. It's quite a steep hill. And you've got your car and you put your car in neutral. And you get out of your car and you simply tap the back of your car. Now, if you run out fast enough, what happened?
No, that's the tap.
You're pantomiming the tap.
Yeah.
So if you just tap, if you tap the car, behind your car, the trunk of your car, if you run out fast enough, you'd probably be able to stop your car. Now at the top of the hill. Now you wouldn't want to be waiting at the bottom of that hill trying to stop that car. Well, thoughts are the same. Negative thoughts at the top of the hill are easier to nip at the bud than ones that pick up momentum at the bottom of the hill. Now, meditation helps us to observe our thoughts, because really we are just the observer behind the eyes. We are not this meat suit. We are really just the observer behind the eyeballs. And we are having involuntary thoughts all day, negative thoughts. We self-sabotage prospecting. Prospecting. It's, I hate cold calling. Cold calling doesn't work. Or these networking events are shitty. I hate going here drinking cheap Chardonnay. And all I ever meet is people who are trying to sell me something. Or, you know what? Every time I ask for a referral, I don't get any. Those negative thoughts pick up momentum, and thoughts become things. So the practice, notice the word practice of meditation, what it allows us to do is to sit for 10 minutes, 10 to 20 minutes every day, and observe how nutso the mind is. Observe, just sit there and observe how thoughts come and say, and let them pass by, like watching, boats go by. You're sitting on the beach and you're watching boats go by. You're going to see that your mind tries to follow the boat. When you catch it, say, okay, and back and back, and just observing the mind. And it's a practice, because some days it's like it's hard to keep the monkey in the tree, and some days you feel clarity, and there's really no controlling that. It's just how you show up to the practice every day and having that commitment to that practice. And it's hard to explain what it does, but what happens is the result is that in your everyday life, you're able to observe your thoughts and catch that negativity, catch that craziness quicker, and be henceforth more mindful.
I do. I do try to meditate, and I say try. Mm-hmm. What is that? What's the Yoda moment here now? Do or do not do. Don't try. There is no try.
Yeah, I told the cop I tried to stop at the stop sign, officer.
That's right. I do. I do practice meditation, and I have to say that I have become, in a sales call, way more observant, and I'm not good at meditation. I find the crazy.
It's not something to be good at.
The monkey is running around my head, grabbing at any thought it can get. I find it. I find it a challenge, but that's good. But as I've been building that muscle, I've found myself more observant, more nurturing. My emotions are way more regulated in a sales call, especially, but also in those other kind of sales calls, like conversations with my wife. Emotions are way more regulated, and and I do find that I've noticed with me that I'm thinking less about the past and the future and more about the present. Right? When we think about the past, it's filled with guilt and shame. When we think about the future, it's fear and adrenaline. But to think about the moment, to be in the moment,
it's the only thing that's real, right? It's the only thing we really have is the present moment, right?
And I do, and this is going to expose me now. So people, I don't know whether our listeners are going to think I'm more groovy or less groovy because of this, but I've started mantra. I've started I've started a pre-sale mantra.
Look at you.
Which is cool, and I've even it's over there. I've got a set of beads for it. Do you want to see my mantra beads?
I really, really freaking do.
Yeah, should have prepped this. So Barb. Barb made me these. These are my beads. This is my mantra.
Who's
beads.
Barb?
Barb, Barb from Baptist.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So she made me and Carolina
mala beads. Nice.
Yeah, how cool is that? So this is my morning mantra. And it is, tell you what, to do that before a sales call, I go into a sales call having pre-call planned, and I do my mantra. I come in with the best energy, the right mix of energy, from nurturing to challenging. I'm very well regulated in my, not always, not every time, but improved. And
absolutely.
And I think this stuff is superpower for sales. I really do. I think this learning to be in the moment, learning to manage your emotions, practicing, getting really good about time. Those first few tips that you gave us about, prepping and being prepared and being intentional about time. I mean, I think that's magic stuff.
Be here now.
And I was thinking about which of our clients do this kind of stuff very well. And I was thinking about how effective. It's interesting when I think about who is managing their stress well, who is the mindful clients that we have. It's amazing the correlation between effective and mindful, effective and measured, right? Our most effective clients, the ones that are breaking records and busting quotas and really driving either themselves or their team, these are the guys that are journaling. These are the guys that are meditating. These are the guys that are managing their overall spiritual health and mental health as well as, and you know what? Often the same guys are the ones that are really managing the physical health as well.
That's right.
which I don't. But it all gets connected.
It's all
Um,
connected. I'm telling you, any big problem, any big stressor that you have, that stress seems to reduce after an hour at the gym. It's hard. I don't understand why it works, but like you once told me, if you're looking for reasons to do it, you're also going to be looking for reasons not to do it. Just freaking do it. There's a reason why Nike's slogan is just do it. Anything you're rolling around in your head, anything that's really, having you wig out seems to not be so overwhelming after 55 minutes of a good workout where you get a sweat on. I don't know why, but
so it's these guys like Angel, Steve, Mark. These are our clients they are like creating 2x, 3x results out of their team or their own production. And I don't think it's coincidence that these are also the guys who are journaling. These are also the guys who are meditating. I have a client who does a pre-sale meditation. He does 3 minutes of meditation before. Now, I haven't taught him that because we know it's a lot of our system is based around very clean physical and spiritual health, and that's cool. But he's taken it to the point. He's found that if he does 3 minutes of meditation before a sales call, boom, that's got a bright line correlation to his result.
I had a coach one tell me, Sophia, meditate every day for 20 minutes. And if you can't find 20 minutes a day to meditate, then meditate for an hour.
That's clever. Yeah.
Right? Like if you can't find, then you really need it. Then you need an hour, girl. You don't need 20 minutes, right? So 20 minutes a day. I highly recommend. We're not sponsored by them, but hey, we'll take it. If you're listening, Headspace. I really love the Headspace app, and I love the story, and I love Headspace.
Yeah,
they have an introduction course that, by the way, it's like levels 1, 2, and 3. I did all 3 of those levels like 3 times. Really great. Taught me how to just the basics of meditation, and now I've been meditating since 2016. So. Yeah,
you're a rock star. So, do you know what? I want to wrap it up. I'm going to wrap it up. I think we've covered this topic in a very interesting way. We've covered the point about how important it is to be very in control of your time, and about how we should get 2 weeks out on our calendar, really in control, have all our prep time booked as an appointment for ourselves rather than wait for the event to be prepped. You spoke a very important point that I think we rushed past, which is about celebrating the victories. If you've done at the end of the day everything that you'd planned to do that day, that is so much more important than to have hit any particular number in result, right? Because you know that those results are going to come if you can manage the behaviors. So celebrate those victories, manage the manageables. It's way more important that you did what you needed to do to manage and build your book of business than hitting any particular quota. We talked about meditation. We kind of touched on journaling, mantras, but you spoke a lot about meditation. We talked about getting Headspace. I love Headspace. And about how these techniques together give you much better emotional regulation, gives you much more presence, especially in a sales call with a prospect. And one of the things we didn't mention was gratitude, but I think that's an important
Maybe we have a whole episode
too.
on gratitude.
Do you know what? Next week's episode, boom. Guys, if you want to hear about the power of gratitude, we'll do 2. We'll do a back-to-back woo-woo session, mindfulness and gratitude. Next week, we're going to talk about
your granola on with Carlos and Sophia. It's unscripted selling. Don't forget to like, subscribe, leave us a review. Thank you so much for listening, closers. It's goodbye from Carlos.
And goodbye from Sophia. Goodbye, closers.